I found the first casualty of the corrugations. In here is my shower pump. There you go, the corrugations take another hostage. We just had lunch at the Calvert range turnoff. You can't actually get back into the Calvert ranges. They're not issuing any permits, so that is out if you're thinking about doing Calvert ranges. Funnily enough, as we were pulled up, another fella passed us. So that's twice now that we've been having lunch and somebody's overtaken us.
He's going twice the speed we are.
Yep, this is day 6 for us, and it's day 3 for him. So he's motoring, and he's in an old Land Cruiser. It's a 1HZ Taliban tan colored Land Cruiser.
And he's got a cattle dog with him.
Yes, he does. Our final destination today is Dera Springs, which is still at 15.7 kilometers away. And that's as a crow flies. So it's a lot longer than that. Next stop, however, will be Canning's Can. That's the Calvert Range just in front of us, or part of the cliffs of the Calvert Range anyway. And somewhere up there is Can's Can. We haven't decided whether we're going to climb up to see Can's Can yet, because it's the hottest part of the day and the flies are very, very active. It's an impressive range though. Well, just looking up at Can's Can on the top of the hill, we have decided no climb, but I will throw the drone up. That's the Calvert Ranges we're looking at, and Can's Can is up on top of there. So right up where the tip of that flag is, you can see Canning's Can. We're up there in 1909. I'll throw the drone up and we'll have a look-see, because I ain't going to climb it. Hot, midday, flies, don't have my boots on. How are those for excuses? I'll buy them. Still on the track into Dera Springs, and have a look at this spinifex. Don't know if I've actually seen it quite this tall before. All in seed. That would be up to the roofline of the car. You could tell if you were the first car through here and you're picking all that spinifex seed up in your radiator and in and around the exhaust, you could understand why you go up like a fireball. That's a pretty impressive sight, the end of that cliff sticking out. Well, you've got the track running along this tall spinifex. Very, very cool. We're going to hole up at Dera Spring tonight. This is the track into Dera Spring. It is about 4.8 kilometers from the Canning. So you've got to drive in 4.8 to the spring and then back out 4.8. It's just at the junction of that Water 17. When is a well, not a well? We are at Water 17. The reason it's called Water 17 is because Canning basically built a dam on a little bit of a river, and then the cattlemen could obviously use that water to water their stock. I'd show you it, but I can't, because I'm strictly forbidden from going in there. So my first impressions of Water 17 or Well 17, disappointment, a little bit of anger, and certainly some annoyance. Rolling into Dera Springs now. Here we are at Dera Spring, which apparently is spelled or pronounced Jerba, but I have never heard anybody call it Jerba. Well, here we are at Dera Springs, and it really is a special place. It's just beautiful. the thing that sort of does my head in. Check this out. This is grass. Real grass. And not the normal Australia, I'm going to kill you and pick you to death grass. You can walk in this stuff in bare feet. And there's no prickles in it. It's just beautiful. At the moment, we've got one other camper in behind those gum trees. And that's it. Starlink is finding it virtually impossible to get a signal in here. We're surrounded by cliffs on both sides and giant gum trees. So I suspect we're not going to be doing any Starlinking tonight. And I found the first casualty of the corrugations. In here is my shower pump. I just was having a little bit of a look around. I looked inside there and I could see that the clip holding on that hose was a little bit loose. So I jammed my hand in there to do up the clip, and check that out. I can wiggle that pump up and down. So at least one bolt has come loose on that pump. So I'll pull this bash plate off so I can access the pump, and I'll have a look what we got. Yep, that's exactly what it was, a loose bolt on that shower pump. There's 4 bolts holding the legs on. One came loose. Buttoned up, put some Loctite on it. She should be good. I'll keep an eye on it though. Time for a cold drink. Well, that water looks a wee bit manky in the spring. I wouldn't be drinking in it. I don't think I'd be showering in it either. There's a bigger pool a little bit further down. I'll have a look at that. This is very neat in here though. So quiet, so still, so peaceful. Wonder how old some of these gums are in here. Hundreds, I'm sure. This big scar here is where the national parks have removed 2 date palms. They called them rogues. And had only been here since the 70s, they reckon, so they pulled them out. Not a bad little camp setup here. Not bad at all. If you're on the Canning and you're coming by here, well worth dropping in. Morning at Dera Springs. The fella, Dave, who was camped up, he's left this morning already. So we are here all by our lonesome. Just gonna go over here and check out the main pool of water. And I use that term pretty loosely because although it's main, it's not that big. You can see the water area is being all bollarded off so you can't get your car down to right the water's edge. And there she be, the main Dera Springs spring. Sensational spot here. Absolutely love it. All right, if these little parrots will let us, it's time to pack up camp and head to all points east. We've now left Dera Spring and we are heading to either Diebel Hills or Diebel Hills. Not quite sure how to pronounce it, but it's about 18k away. Look at these desert oaks. A whole little forest of them. Bloody awesome. This wasn't so close to Dera, which is a kilometer or 2 away. You'd bloody pull up camp under them. something I don't think I've experienced in any other desert travel we've been in, but you got these big sections of rocky areas, and then all of a sudden it's sand, and then rock, and then sand, and the transition is instant. Look at how chewed up this sucker is. Oh yeah, melon holes. All of these big ones have little run-up tracks on them where people have had to have second goes, and they've straightened the track out to take a run-up. Tire pressures, people, tire pressures. We're not far out of Dera Springs. They're up along that range of hills there you can see in the background. Now I'm flying up this here sand dune. I said, hey, there's a roof rack. And there it is. It's a rhino rack too. It's a good one. Look at that, eh? The roof mounter is smashed. And that one's come off as well. Far out. She's taking a beating. I got a rhino rack on mine and I could scavenge some parts, but I don't really need anything. I'll leave it for the next guy, I guess. There you go, the corrugations take another hostage. We're now on the track to the Diebel Hills, or Diebel Hills, and we are going through a scorched earth policy. I don't know whether this was a controlled burn or a deliberate burn, or whether it was accidental. I see tracks here, and that leads me to believe maybe it was deliberately lit for, you know, some sort of a control. We're only just into the Diebel Hills track by a couple of K. So far, it's pretty much dead straight, and it's a little bit overgrown. If you value your paint work, I guess you probably wouldn't be on the CSR to begin with, but this is definitely growing over more than the main CSR track. Hopefully the GoPro will pick it, but we're in these really green, hedgy things, and they're a different plant to the rest of what's on the sand dunes. There's no spinifex here. It's all this really, really green stuff, and it looks like we might be coming out of it up here back into spinifex country. But it's just...
Yep, the spinifex is starting to mix in with it now.
Ah, yeah, it is. You know, we're out of it now, into spinifex. Very odd. Just coming through some sand dunes or along this Diebel Hills track, and whammo, we hit a giant rock cliff. Very spectacular.
Just feels so unexpected out here, doesn't it?
It does. It really does. We're so programmed from The Simpsons, you know, it's sand. You don't have any of these rocks out there, apart from the knolls, but that's completely different. But out here, you've got all of the sand, just like The Simpsons, and then wacko, you got these giant cliffs. Very impressive. This is a good example of some of the scrapies along the side of the track. This is pretty cool. We actually have some trees now, so that must get some runoff from these hills, and it's like a giant amphitheater of hills all around us.
That was a big hole.
That was a big hole. I was staring at the ghost gum up on the top of that cliff. One thing about tracks like this, you take your eye off them for a split second and they'll bite you.
Or you'll bite yourself. Your tongue or something.
We seem to be down in the bed of a sandy river. Very soft sand too. I've really got to feed it. These cliffs are pretty imposing. They are a lot higher than the one where Canning's can was on. I think that's the end of our sand. Just dropped it down into low range. This was a rocky section that Dave, the fella that we were camped beside at Dera Springs, was telling us about. He said that he had smashed a couple of rocks going up this, but he's got a leaf sprung vehicle, and they've got the leaf hangers that always tend to get hung up on rocks. So we should be all right. And have a look at that massive wall in front of us. That is awesome. And there's some ghost gums that have got a foothold out there as well. Track's closed in a little bit on us. We're very near the end of the track for this Diebel Hills, and I'd say it's where those two ranges conjoin, because we're not going to be getting past that. There's the end of the line. There's the loop track. Back out the way we came. making our way out of the Diebel Hills area now, and we're obviously looking at the rocks now in the opposite direction to when we came in, and they keep turning it on.
The video will show it, but these rocks are so sparkly.
In a little bit of a rocky, crappy little section. Jill's up the top doing some filming, and I'm behind the wheel doing some driving. Just taking it nice and slow. Last of the Diebel rocky ranges before we head back into the sand. And I think there's one big dune in front of us that we got to get up and over.
There's that hole
Holy, holy.
Yeah.
The hole that caught us with our pants down.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Bye-bye, Diebel Ranges. This is the last of the big hills before the Diebel Ranges, or after, depending which way you're going. Alrighty, let's try that again. This is one thing you can do on the canning reasonably easily, and you certainly can't do this in the Simpson, and that is pull up right in the middle of the bloody track and have some lunch. Have a look at that for an outlook for lunch though. Not too shabby. It's very cool to see the sand dunes flowing right up or touching right up to the rocks. Sand, then rock.
Here's a little beetle. I love all the beetle tracks that there are. I just saved 4 beetles in one tire track on one dune, so I hate to think of how many we're smishing everywhere we go. And I love the lines that the Spinifex makes scraping along the sand as well.
This little spiky bush has these little pods on it with seeds in it, and they sound like maracas. That's very
cool.
neat.
It is, isn't it?
We're gonna call that the maraca tree.
Okay.
I just had to record this again because it's so unusual, but we're back in that little green bushy forest. It's only about 5 or 6 kilometers of the main CSR junction. Just the most unusual thing. I've never encountered this in all of our desert travels, and that's it. We're out of the green bushes. The things you see on the side of the CSR. I reckon that's probably a backing plate off a trailer. Yep, that'd be for the trailer brakes. Nasty, she dead. Well, that's not gonna buff out, is it? I'm only about a kilometer from where I found that brake hub. I reckon it's off of this trailer. It's got no axles anymore. Somebody stripped them, but it's awfully coincidental that you've got a trailer here and only a kilometer away, so you got that brake drum. Spot where they probably had a spare mounted, and she's been through at least one fire. Rest in peace, old girl. Well number 18, where we have stopped and recommissioned our water supplies. Didn't bother videoing that because you've seen how to draw water out of a well many times. We did give the animals a drink as well. I hope they enjoy it. As I said, the well has been fully recommissioned, except for the watering trough and the windlass and the original winch. All of that stuff is still pretty much in rack and ruin. And me being the expert hydrologist that I am, well 18 is one of those wells that just is not in an obvious place where you would dig. A couple of scrabbly trees, but these little scrabbly trees are everywhere out there. Here's the well and its contents. Beautiful water. Thank you for the drink, well 18. We're on a detour track into a place called Ongunya Rock Hole. It's about a 4.5 kilometer detour to get back in here. And we're just gonna come in and check it out. Say the rock hole will be somewhere in these ranges here. There's a couple of camel nests here. And they look like they're pretty small camels. And yeah, I think you're right, it's two. And have a look at this. There's shit and they just piss in their nest. Dirty, dirty animals. Well, I'm presuming that the rock hole is back here between these two ridges. So that's the way I'm traveling. But as I mentioned in an earlier vid, I'm hydrologically challenged, so I could very well be off the mark. It is just solid camel shit back here. They definitely love this spot. And the flies are next level too. Whew, and stink. It just stinks like camel shit and camel piss. Dirty, dirty beasts. And look at that. The buggers have sucked the rock hole dry. I stand corrected. There is a skerrick of water in there. That's a fig tree there, and a fig tree there, and a fig tree there. Have a look at the roots. That's very cool. And we actually have some actual green grass. Incredible. And check this out. Some rock paintings. The first one looks like a fish of some description, and a fern leaf, and two googly eyes. A cute little camel cave. Or a wallaby. Whoa, I don't know. And look at that. Two dingoes checking us out. A black one, and in behind him is a tan one. And he does not seem very shy to me. Oh, he's marking his territory. Pissing on a bush. And he's digging. He's digging like Sunny Dog. There's three. There's one way out in the distance as well, but you probably can't see it at about 11 o'clock. Well, we've just left Ongunya Rock Hole. And if you like Aboriginal art, there were 3 exceptional paintings there. Something we'd never seen before. So that was cool. But the flies were next level. The camels used that area as a toilet. And you could tell. We were there at the hottest part of the day. And the flies were just exceptionally bad. So bear that in mind if you're heading back in there. Up we go, a decent sized dune. No, not really. Pretty easy. Another double humper though. That's cool. We love the double humpers. Have gone off of the CSR now onto a track that is heading to Lake Disappointment, and according to our map it's called the southern camp of Lake Disappointment. It's about 4.5 kilometers off of the CSR. It's been used, there's wheel tracks on it, but it's not been used as much as the CSR obviously. The spinifex is a lot higher and the little seed poddy guys haven't been busted off, but it looks like there are some desert oaks that might be along the shore of that lake. That would be mind-blowing if that's the case. Starting to go through this little forest of desert oaks. I don't think that they're going to be on the shore of the lake though, because we're only about halfway there. Although there is the lake, I can see it in the distance, and with your great GoPro eyes you'd see it as well. We have just spotted our first camel on the lake shore. He's looking at us. Just a single solitary guy. There's a second one behind him.
Yes.
That's cool. Camels on a salt lake.
Got 2 camels here at Lake Disappointment Southern Camp.
a look at this for a campsite. Pulled up on the shores of Lake Disappointment, under a stand of desert oaks, sitting on a bed of pine needles. The sun's going down, the wind is blowing through the trees. This is one of the best campsites I've ever had in my life. Unbelievable.
A little puffball is busted through.